and now only two topics are left in this. One is now audio is reaching. Hello?
Yes, sir.
So see here, only two topics, two main things are left in this chapter. Up to now, I have told all the three laws of the Newton's law. First law, second law, and third law. Now today I am going to explain you impulse. Impulse and impulsive force. Impulsive force. Now, what is the meaning of impulse and impulsive force? So, see here, suppose when you are hitting a cricket ball with the bat very hardly, means cricket ball पर हम बहुत तेजी से बैट से force लगाते हैं. Then the force which bat exerts on the ball, that is a impulsive force. That force is very large in magnitude but acting for a very small interval of time. It's clear? And usually that force is variable. Usually force is variable. Variable means its magnitude is not constant throughout the time for which impulsive force means when a large variable force whose magnitude is varying with time is acting for a very small interval of time. Then it brings a sufficient change in momentum of the body. For example, if you are hitting the football by your leg very hardly, or you are hitting to a wall by your hand very hardly, what will happen? Yes. What will happen? It will produce a sufficient change in momentum. So such type of force is called the impulsive force. What is impulsive force? When a large force, usually variable. And see here, what would be the magnitude of this force? Its magnitude increases from 0 to a definite value. 0 to a definite value. And then once again it becomes 0. पहले क्या होगा 0 से 1000 न्यूटन 2000 न्यूटन तक इंक्रीज करेगा and then it becomes 0. It's clear? For whole time, suppose the force is acting for 5 seconds, then during that 5 seconds, what will be the change in the magnitude of force? First, it increases from this to this, and then it decreases from 1000 Newton to the 0. It is decreasing from 1000 Newton to the 0. It's clear? Force is acting for what time? For 5. If you draw the graph of this force one such time, so it will be like this. Here, we have drawn the force, and in this side we have taken the time. Then the magnitude of force will vary something like this. It increases from 0 to some maximum value and then decreases. It's clear? The time interval for which it is acting, in that time it varies in this way. So when a large force, usually variable, acts on a body, for a very small interval of time, then it produces a sufficient change. in momentum of the body. Change in momentum of body. It brings a sufficient change in the momentum of the body. This force is called impulsive force. Force we call as impulsive force. And what is impulse? The change in momentum which it brings is called the impulse. The change in momentum brought by force is called impulse. This is called impulse. This point is clear. What is impulsive force and what is impulse? When we apply a very large force, on a body for a very small interval of time, then that force will bring a sufficient change in the momentum of the body. So this force is called impulsive force, and this force is usually variable. It do not remain constant. It's clear that you can feel if you apply the force, if you hit a cricket ball with the bat very hardly, then what will happen? As soon as the bat comes in contact of the ball, its magnitude is just touching, its magnitude is 0. But then it increases to some very high value and then once again decreases and becomes 0. It's clear. Now see here, how will you measure this change in momentum? How will you measure the change in momentum brought by the force? So see here, that change in momentum, or that impulse which it provides to the body. Impulse means the change in momentum brought in the body. So the change in momentum which is provided by this force means impulse provided by the force to the body. It will be equal to product of the average value of force and time interval for which it is acting. That is F into delta T. If we assume here the force is varying, if we assume that one average force, this time interval we have taken time delta T, this time interval we have taken delta T. So instead of taking this force, we have assumed a average force, that this much average force is acting for this whole time delta T. So what will be the change in momentum or impulse? That will be F into delta T. Here F is the average value of the force. This point is clear. Impulse means what is impulsive force? When a very large force acts on a body for a very small interval of time, which is usually variable in nature, which is time dependent force, whose magnitude increases with time and then decreases and becomes 0. Then this force brings a sufficient change, a significant change in the momentum of the body. It's clear. And this change in momentum is called the impulse. We say that the impulse provided by the force to the body will be equal to the product of force and time interval for which it is acting. And this force will take a average impulse force. This is called average impulsive force. To calculate it, we will take average impulsive force. Now you can see here what will be the unit of change in moment, what is the unit of impulse. So you can see unit of impulse will be force is in Newton, time interval is in second, therefore it will be Newton second. SI unit of impulse will be SI unit of impulse. That will be Newton second. What will be the dimensional formula? You can find dimensional formula also. Newton means MLT minus 2. Second means T. So it will be MLT minus 1. MLT minus 1. How can you calculate the impulse? By the graph. I have drawn this graph. Force versus time curve. General nature time curve. It's clear. General nature of the impulsive. As already I have told that the impulsive force is equal to how much? It is equal to the product of this and this. Means it will be equal to the area enclosed. It's clear. It will be equal to the area enclosed. Means area under impulsive force will be the measure of the area under F versus T curve is equal to impulse, is equal to the change in momentum brought by the force in that body. Now, how will you calculate if you take this time at T1, this at T2? So we can integrate integral F dt. How can you find this area? Integral y dx. So what is y here? F. What is x here? T. So integral f dt. And from where to where? It will be from T1 to T. So this way also we can calculate the impulse. It's clear. There are some examples which are given in your book that you can see. For example, there is one. When a bullet is fired from the gun, bullet is fired from the gun, it is like this. This is gun, and suppose here, this is a trigger here, and this is the rod, and here a bullet is fixed. You can see here, a bullet is fixed. So as soon as you will press the trigger here, what will happen? This rod will strike to the bullet and it will exert a very great force on the bullet. And because of that great force, it requires a very huge momentum. Huge momentum. Here, what is the momentum at this moment? It is zero because it is at rest. But as soon as it comes out with a very great velocity. It's clear. So it is providing on triggering. What will happen? Gun is providing a huge impulse to the bullet. It's clear. Now after this, there is one more topic. This is the law of conservation of momentum. Law of conservation of momentum. Of momentum. Now, one more thing which I want to tell you, this Newton's second law of motion. Newton's second law of motion, which numerical form is F equals to m into A. It is true for a single particle system. It is true for a single particle system. But if you apply a force here, so in that case also we apply the Newton's second law. In case of the moving bodies also we apply the Newton's second law. But these bodies are not single particle system. They are consisting large number of particles. But if we assume that the net force acting on the body is F and the overall acceleration which is required by that force is A, then that relation can be used. Here, on applying force F, it acquires an acceleration A. It's clear. Therefore, this force can be applied, this Newton's second law of motion can also be applied to the extended bodies. Extended bodies which are comprising innumerable number of particles. Innumerable number of particles. So see here, there is one Newton's second law of conservation of momentum. According to the law of conservation of momentum, so law of conservation of momentum. If external force acting on the body is zero, if external force acting on body is zero. Now, what is the meaning of external force acting on the body is zero? You can see here. This is a body which is consisting innumerable number of particles. It is consisting, these are the number of particles present within the body. It is consisting innumerable number of particles. Now these particles are applying the force on one another, that you know, interatomic force. That force is known as interatomic force. These particles are exerting force on one another, and that force we call it the interatomic force. Means this particle will pull to this and this one will pull to this. Whether with the by the these forces, these interatomic forces, body come into the motion. So no, body do not come into the motion by these interatomic forces which the particles are exerting on one another. Because of these forces, it will not acquire any acceleration. It will acquire acceleration only when some other body, some other external agent is applying the force here. It's clear? Then only it will come into the motion. It will acquire some acceleration. Because of the internal forces, there will be no change in the state of the body. There will be no change in the position of the body. Body will remain at the same position. It's clear? So see here, according to the law of conservation of momentum, if external forces acting on body is zero, then its momentum will be conserved. Momentum will remain conserved. Now see here, what is its meaning? Momentum will remain conserved. As we know that momentum, which is denoted by P, it is property of a moving body. It is equal to the product of mass and velocity of the body. Momentum of a body is equal to product of mass and velocity. P equals to M into V. What is the momentum of this? Since it is not moving, therefore its momentum will be zero. It's clear? Momentum is the property of moving body. And it is a vector quantity, that also you know. Velocity is vector, momentum is also vector quantity. It's clear? Momentum will remain conserved means it will remain same in magnitude, that as well as in direction. It will remain same in magnitude as well as in direction. That is, remains same in magnitude as well as in direction. And when external force is not acting, in absence of external force. External force. According to the law of conservation of momentum, if the external force acting on the body is zero, means no external force acts upon the body, then the momentum of body will remain conserved. That is, momentum will remain same in magnitude as well as in direction. There will be no change. How can you deduce this? So as you know that from the Newton's second law of motion, you can see here, from Newton's second law of motion, we know that F equals to delta P upon delta T. It's clear? Or in calculus, we write it as dP upon dt. It's clear? In vector form, you will put the arrow. It's clear? This force is referring to the external force. This force is referring to the external force. It's clear? Not to the internal forces. So when F external is 0, when F external is 0, then dP upon dt will be 0. And this is 0, then P will be constant. P will be constant. It's clear? When delta P upon delta T is 0 means delta P is 0. Delta P is 0 means there is no change in momentum. And no change in momentum, then it means what? Then what does it mean? Then it means momentum is conserved. Momentum is constant. It's clear? Now see here. Here we can see one more thing. So this is the law of conservation of momentum. If the external force is not acting on a system, then total momentum of that system will remain conserved. Now you can see here. Suppose there are two bodies which are moving along the same straight line. Here this is one body, body 1, and this is the another body, body 2. It is moving with 10 meters per second and it is moving with 20 meters per second. Here we have assumed that there is no friction anywhere. There is no friction anywhere. It's clear? So see here, this is the situation at some moment. After some time, what will happen? Since they are moving along the same direction, along the same straight line, they are moving along the same straight line. So what will happen? Body 1 will collide to the body 2. It will collide to the body 2. It's clear? 1 will collide. Hello, now audio is reaching.
Yes, sir.
Now see here, after some time, what will happen? This body 1 will collide to the body 2. When body 1 will collide to the body 2, what will happen? 1 will exert a force on 2 and 2 will exert a force on 1. It's clear? 2 is exerting force on 1 in what direction? In this direction. F12. We represent this force by F12. It's clear? Representing this force by F12. And 1 will exert the force on 2 in what direction? In this direction, that is F21. It will be F21. But these forces are not the external forces. These are the internal forces. It's clear? These are not external forces. These are the internal forces. It's clear? Here we have taken both the bodies as the part of a system. Here both bodies are the part of the same system. Therefore, these forces are internal. Now, if there is no friction, then what will happen? These bodies will get separated. They will be separated. Here, suppose it is moving with some velocity v1 and it is moving with some other velocity v2. It is clear? So, what will happen? Here we will find that the total momentum before collision will be equal to the total momentum after collision. if you determine the total momentum which was before collision and after collision, that will remain same. It is clear? So, law of conservation of momentum states that if external force is not acting on any system, internal forces are acting, but the external force is not acting, then the total momentum of that system will remain conserved. That is, it will remain same in magnitude as well as in direction. It is clear? Now see here, you can have one example of this: recoiling of gun. Recoiling of gun. When we do the firing, suppose this is a gun and when a bullet is fired with the help from the gun. And here there is a bullet. And this is the rod. This is the trigger. So this is gun, and this is the you will press the when you will press the now switch off the audio, turn off audio. Now all of you turn off audio. Now all of you see here. When you will press the trigger, what will happen? This rod will strike to the gun. Rod will strike to the bullet. Is clear? This gun is exerting a force on the bullet. Because of that, what will happen? Bullet will acquire a momentum in the forward direction. Bullet will acquire momentum in the forward direction. Now see here, as we have taken gun and bullet as the same system, both have been taken as the same system. So what will be? Total momentum will remain 0 because both are at rest. Gun as well as bullet, before firing, both are at rest. Therefore, total momentum is 0. But after firing, what has happened? Bullet has acquired momentum in this direction. Therefore, gun will also acquire the same momentum in the opposite direction in order to keep the total momentum 0. In order to keep the total momentum 0 after firing, gun will acquire the same momentum in opposite direction as bullet acquires in the forward direction. As bullet is acquiring in the forward direction. And because of that, what will happen? Gun will recoil. But you can see here that gun will not recoiling with the same speed as the bullet. What is the reason? Because the gun has been holded very rigidly. It has been holded very rigidly, as well as it is very much massive as compared to the bullet. Therefore, it is recoiling with a lesser speed. With a smaller speed, it will recoil. It is clear? So, this is the recoiling of the gun. gun is not recoiling with the same speed as the required by bullet. Why? Because it is very massive as well as it is very rigidly holded. It is very rigidly holded. Therefore, it will recoil with a smaller speed. Now you can see here, we can see that the law of conservation of linear momentum is equivalent to the Newton's third law of motion. It is equivalent to the Newton's third law of motion. So see here,
सब मुझे पाओ तेरी फिर भी सबको बता रहा हूँ तेरे बारे में सबको अच्छी बातें बता रहा हूँ तेरे लिए मम्मी डैडी को मैं घर पे मना रहा हूँ वजन मेरी थोड़ी घटा रहा हूँ बॉडी पसंद है मैं हेल्दी खाने चबा रहा हूँ सुनने में आया है तू लंदन में रहती है अब भी जाके पहली टिकट कटा रहा हूँ